Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's just finished West Ham United 2, Anderlecht 1. It's 4 wins out of 4 in the group for West Ham. It's also 4 wins on the bounce since international break for the Hammers. And West Ham have qualified from the group. Still need a point to clinch top spot, where we are guaranteed to go through to the knockout phases of the group. Myself and Gonzo are here to discuss the highlights. Gonzo, let's skip ahead to, the first goal, shall we? I mean, that was delicious, wasn't it?
It certainly was, my friend. Yeah, a nice little build-up on the left. Paqueta stopped it going out for what would have been a goal kick. Turned back, was running down the left wing, albeit the wrong way. Played it inside to Benrhama, who showed really quick feet, sort of, drag back and some other piece of skill, which I don't know the name for. And he won the foul. And he won the foul, so I guess he assisted his own goal, because from the resulting free kick, he curled it in, but not one of those curlers that goes into the top corner. No, it was a dip and swerving one. I thought it was really nice free kick, actually. Perfect, actually, inch perfect free kick, and not before time. He's been due one of those.
What did you make of how we started the game?
Technically really good, sort of, I guess, what we expected when we saw the team. I thought we controlled the ball really well. They had an initial attack, and there was a very good interception from Cresswell, and Cresswell won that interception. He went steaming down the pitch to sort of make a counter attack. But from that point, we were really untroubled. I thought we were really in control of the game as well. We were a bit worried about the back three. Obviously, Ogbonna was going to go off injured after 20 minutes, but actually the back three were very solid. I know, the composition of it changed throughout the game, but the mainstays for most of the game were Johnson and Cresswell. They were formed a very solid base for us. Thought we controlled the midfield. I don't know what they were doing up front, but it was sort of working. False nine. I don't know who was playing where, but Paqueta was looking silky. Benrhama was looking tricky, and Bowen was looking sharp.
And Bowen was getting among the goals again. I mean, this was a lovely little team move, though. Again, down the left-hand side once again. Starts with a throw in, and 3 or 4 interchanges later, and Bowen's thumping it in the back of the net. I mean, it's a really fantastic finish. It looks easy, but it's a difficult chance. Lovely little dummy. The finish, the strike of the ball is just perfection, really. Got some power behind that one, but it was after half an hour gone, so we were 2-0 up, and like I said, really nice goal.
It was a nice goal, wasn't it? And I love the way he created a bit of space for himself. It's one of the hardest things to do in the game of football. Teams spend all week working out how to make sure there's no space in the box, so as opposition can't attack. But actually, it wasn't just the first touch he took. It's the little feint. It's the suggestion that he's going to go the other way, and then he goes. Then he goes in the opposite direction, but really nice technique for the strike as well, and a nice surging run from Emerson, who was really good. There was no tricks or anything in the run, but he carried the ball well, and he did that thing I really like what players do, which basically ran into space. He didn't need to do a trick. He's going to run into where the players aren't, and you just felt you knew what he was trying to do, because he just wanted to delay his pass long enough for the support to arrive, which is from Cresswell, and I thought he picked him out really well as well. So fair play, Emerson.
Yeah, lovely turn by Benrahma as well. Receives his throw in, and just he's got a couple of defenders sort of in and around him in the vicinity of that small area of the pitch. He just turns them and just waits half a second just so he gives it to Emerson, who doesn't break stride, bursts forward, lovely cut back, really good finish by Jarrod Bowen. Probably should have made it 3-0 though, Jarrod. I mean, that was an easier chance, weren't it? Cut back and we just kicked the air.
Yeah, I actually wrote down. I mean, there was a chance before that as well. I mean, he could have had a hat trick, really. All right, the first one was a bit further. It was an air kick, but actually the first one was a bit of an air kick as well. I don't know. Perhaps he had a little bit of trouble spotting the ball throughout the game, but but again, he was really well picked out. It was another good move, which was, I think, going to be the hallmark of our performance today. There were a lot of good moves, a lot of cutbacks. Actually, even you saw it at the end, the cutback for Souček. It was a good part of it. And I think if we'd have had a little bit more quality down the right hand side, with Soufal, who had a solid enough game, don't get me wrong, but if his final ball's a little bit better, I think you would have found us mirroring our attacks down the left would have been mirrored on the right, and we probably would have been well home and hosed by them.
Yeah, at half time, I was very happy with what I saw in the first half. 2-0 up at half time, very comfortable, much better than last week when we played them. I think Anderlecht had a part to play in that. I don't think they were anywhere near as good as they were. And I think the early-ish goal from Benrhama just knocked the stuffing out of them a little bit. And they're almost more interested in sort of kicking our ankles rather than trying to play football. I don't know what I felt like they were almost trying to drag it into a bit of a messy game, and we refused, and we were almost a bit like, well, no, we're not going to do that. We are better than that. The football was much nicer today. That was crispier. That the ball was getting moved sharper. The interchanges, small pockets of little triangles among the team was really, really good. Defensively, we conceded a couple of half chances at best, but comfortable in the first half for Arviola. We could have been 3-4-0 up at half time, and I don't think they could have had much complaints about it. A lot of players playing good in that individual performances as well. There was a lot of positives coming out of that first half, and yeah, I was really happy at half time, Gonzo. But the second half, it was a bit boring, weren't it? It was job done by half time. And I think the message was clear from West Ham, which was let's just kill the tempo. Let's just make it a boring second half, suffocate them a bit. But I don't think it was helped by the stop-start nature of the game, the injuries, the substitutions from both teams. And until the last 5 minutes, it was a boring 40 minutes, weren't it?
It really was. But how good is that? The sentence that you just started with there, basically decided to shut the game down, or whatever words you actually used, then wonderful. Okay, let's see this out. Let's make it boring. We're in control of the game. By that point, I looked up at the screen. We'd had 180 more passes than they had at that point in the second half. Wow. Okay. Well, you can really do that. And we've all, everyone watching this presumably loves football. We've all seen teams do it in Europe before, and that was us doing it. That was West Ham doing it. And, basically, it can't be understated. Cruising our way to qualification to the knockout rounds again. And that's what we were doing, in full cruise control. We'll speak about the penalty in a minute, but, let's not let that cloud that, because you might look at that as a 2-1 scoreline and think something else happened tonight. It didn't. We were completely dominant, and we're able to do that within the confines of a switching system, switching personnel, playing numerous people out in various different positions.
It was getting a bit funky at one point. Even the commentators were thinking, what on earth are we doing here? Like, where's he? Rice is coming on for Cresswell. All right, Cresswell's going in. Rice is going into the back three, and then the commentator said something like, "Oh, they're switching," and then he stopped as if say, "Well, they're not. They've always been playing a back three. Why is Rice there?" It was just getting a bit wild, weren't it?
Yeah, but understand.
The iPad was malfunctioning, I think, of Kevin.
Yeah, well, we're all scratching round. I utilised all 4 colours on my pen to try and work out what was going on, but in the end, it was good. I thought the final shape was right. It was the right thing to do. I think it was only the commentators were slightly confused what he was going to do at that point. He was never going to play Souček alongside Declan Rice. It was only one thing he was going to do there, and he was right to do it. And of course, drop.
I was hoping he would, because I was thinking I've already got my opening line, which is West Ham started with 5 defenders on the pitch, and we finished it with our 2 centre midfielders playing centre back.
Yeah. No defenders on the pitch as well. So really, really good. Really happy with that, mate, and some decent performances in there as well. And they're no mugs. Look, they weren't as good as last time. They looked a bit down. They didn't look as up for it. They looked a bit demoralised, but they didn't turn up like that. They won 3-1 at the weekend. We did that to
them. Penalty? No. Yes. No.
No. Not
it's very harsh, wasn't it?
It's ridiculous. Me, Geo. I'll call it. I always try and look.
Well, we did in the Fulham game. We literally did the Fulham one, saying, "Wow, we were a bit lucky there. Probably shouldn't have been a goal." Blah blah blah. But
no. I'm the first to say we've done something naughty, or one of our players dived, or that. But there's no chance. I thought it was so bad he couldn't even be asked to have the energy to argue it properly. Right, well, if you're going to give that, you're going to give that. And it seems to be Johnson's attitude. I disappointed for him, actually, because I thought he was brilliant. So, Yeah, but it was never a penalty, and we still managed to see it out anyway. So yeah, pretty damn good.
Yeah, never a pen for me. I felt a bit sorry for Ben Johnson. You can see how disheartening he's calling for VAR in a competition that doesn't have VAR, which was amusing to watch. Okay, as you could, you do wonder if when he was blown, he must have thought, "Oh well, go to the screen, we'll overturn this ref." Then he must have thought, "Hang on a minute, there ain't in this competition. I'm buggered you. That's it. It's a pen, and I'm booked for it for whatever reason." A very comfortable night in the end. Like you said, the scoreline will suggest it was close. It wasn't really. And Moyes will come away with a lot of positives, but a lot of worries, Gonzo, because something that probably overshadows the game a little bit is the fact that O'Connor went off injured. Craig Dawson replaced him, then Dawson had to go off injured. Taylor Kerr absent from the squad tonight. We don't know why yet. There may be an assumption that he was simply just rested. However, we have that vacant spot on the bench, so we chose to have only 11 subs instead of 12, but it's unusual for Moyes just to leave players out completely. Obviously, Kurt Zouma's slightly different because he does have a horrid injury history and he does look broken pretty much for the whole season, but the Kerr absence is a little bit interesting, I think is the word. Are you concerned about our sort of centre-backs?
It just doesn't matter how many centre backs we buy, we're always going to need more centre backs. Really, it's just going to be one of those things. They just we've got the old centre back curse or whatever it might be. Probably not heard of that story, but I've just made it up. But if there is a centre back curse, we probably got one. Yeah, a little bit, but I'm also confident in we have previous seasons gone by, if we'd have had to take Declan Rice out of midfield and play him in central defence for a game, we'd have been in a lot of trouble. I don't fear that as much now. That's okay for me. If Declan has to go and play in defence for a couple of games, that's fine. I think Flynn Downs is such a good player in there that's going to be okay. So yeah, it is a slight concern. I do hope that some of these omissions and some of the young players on the bench, I hope it's more like a bug, the lurgy, a virus or something, rather than people being injured. Because hopefully, they have a honey and lemon and get back. I'm no physio, but or a medic, but whatever, glass of something, and they get back for Southampton game.
Dawson was only a knock as well as like an impact, so he might hopefully be okay for Sunday, but it's the second game in a row he's had an impact injury and he was able to play through against Fulham, but tonight he's been caught short. And we play on Sunday, then we play again on Wednesday, so there's a lot of games coming thick and fast as well. But let's do individual performers actually. Then take your pick, because I think there's quite a few positives coming out tonight.
Well, let's start with Ben Johnson. I think because of just absolutely these players are worth so much to a club. These players that can play in numerous positions and do a good job, and he's one of the other reasons why it's okay if we're down to a couple of centre halves or whatever, because you know what, he can fill in there, and there he was again today. Playing at the right of a back three, then the middle of a back two, and we know he can play right back, and we know he can play left back, and I thought he was really solid today. Actually, whilst people were falling down around him, really good. I know. Look, let's not. He wasn't playing against Erling Haaland's edge, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, they caused us less problems than did last time. So well done him. I also think Cresswell's in just really good form as well. Really, I know we've discussed it. I thought he carried that on today. He just looked a real threat. Several good performances. I thought Geo and Flynn Downs had another good game. Not quite at the 9 out of 10s as in the previous game, but another really, really good performance.
Well, now I know who your man of match is. I think Flynn Downs had a much better first half than second half. I think second half, for whatever reason, I wouldn't say faded. He just seemed to. He was unable to impact the game as much, whether that's because he was on a booking for the majority of it or because we decided to sit back a little bit more. It's not that I wasn't impressed by him in the second half. I just didn't feel he imposed himself as much. The first 45, I thought he was wonderful. I thought he was our best player in the pitch, really, but he just faded a bit as the game went on, which was a shame, really, because I thought, here we go, this is 3 huge performances in a row. It's still a really good performance. I'm still really happy with him. And he's sort of second or third in my sort of man of the match, if you like. We've got the same one, by the way. But another good performance from him. Saw a little bit of a Scott Parker turn from him in there tonight as well. At one point, he's really enjoying himself at the team, and he almost looks like a very experienced centre midfielder. Do you know what I mean? When you watch him, I don't feel like I'm watching somebody who we've just plucked from the Championship. I feel like I'm watching almost the equivalent of Mark Noble last season in the Europa League, someone with hundreds of appearances behind him, strolling about the midfield, very comfortable in possession, happy to tell other players where to go and what to do when he's out of possession and stuff. A real good performance from him. Completely agree about Aaron Cresswell. Had he played 90 minutes, I think he might have been my man of match. Brilliant tonight. Really, really good. And I didn't mention this at the time of discussing Said Benrahma's free kick for the reason it's not that big a deal. But he let Benrhama take that free kick, and it's almost good leadership to do that, to be able to say, I am not the right person to take this free kick, you are, takes a little bit of something about you, because, hypothetical question, could you imagine Ronaldo doing that in Man United? Bollocks. Ronaldo will hit it, regardless of who stood next to him, or who the best person is to take that free kick. But it's good of Creswell to say, right, this is your free kick, you hit it, but especially when Cresswell had one 5 minutes earlier, and when it went over, it wasn't a bad effort. It was just a little bit too high, that's all. But in terms of defensively, really, really good. Getting out of that back three, superb. The timing of his runs was fantastic. Like you spoke about that one, he cut it out, gave it to Paqueta, and went bombing, 90-yard sprint. Paqueta should have gave it back to him. He didn't, but he turned around. Got his arse back. He 3/4 jogged way back. But I don't blame him for that. He's out of breath by the time you get to that other 18-yarder. You can't turn and sprint all the way back. But a really solid performance from him. And before we do man of match, let's do man of match. Then we'll do the final discussion. Benrhama?
Yeah, really good. Did you see the celebration on the bench when he scored the free kick?
No, but at halftime, somebody mentioned that one man in particular didn't celebrate, but the rest of them did.
Oh, isn't that funny? I didn't. Okay, I mean, I was really drawn to watch so many of them celebrate. Funny, my attention. I'd be interested to know. Just hold that a second, because you could tell me. But Declan Rice in particular was thrilled. You could see it was very much, it was sort of pointing. It was, I don't know, I can't lip read, but it was almost like, there's that thing that you do in training all the time. It had that sort of feel about it. And I thought everyone was celebrating. It just seemed to be, okay, there's a really good team spirit there. Who did celebrate?
I'm not going to say, because somebody in the live chat said he did celebrate. So at halftime, someone said Moyes didn't celebrate.
Okay.
But the rest of the coaches
did. I didn't notice. My eye wasn't drawn from there. Okay, I mean, Benrhama was, I thought he was linking well with Paqueta. I thought he had drive. I was pleased to see him on the left. All his best performances this season have been on the left, and there he was again. He's got into a really good habit. And I said this if you go and listen to reviews, the first 2 or 3 games of the season, of driving to the byline and pulling the ball back. And he started this season doing it really well. And then Moyes moved him out of position, so it's disappeared from his game because he's not in that area of the football pitch anymore. Put him back there today. There he is doing it again. I thought there was a purpose about what he was attempting to do today. I thought there was it was direct. It was hurtful to the defense, and I'm really pleased. I thought he was a massive part of how that front three functioned, and it did function, by the way. Whatever it was with the Bowen and the Benrhama and the Paqueta trio thing was a bit of a menace for them. And I thought it wasn't just that. It was Cresswell joining in. It was Emerson joining in with Benrhama. Benrhama was linking with Lanzini, who was helping out as well. We just had a load of, I guess they would call them ballers in the modern day. And it showed. It was really, really enjoyable. And I thought he was certainly my man of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. Consistently good throughout the night. He had a couple of bits where he lost the ball or whatever. There was one point in the second half where he was waiting for it to come to him and it got intercepted just before it arrived. And he had the chance. He could have went to the ball to get it. But, that chance he gives Souček at the very end there, he goes up against his man, goes, right, come on then, I'm going to go by you, right to the byline, not much space to operate in, doesn't matter, I'm going to take you on now. And you can really tell the difference from Benrhama post-goal and pre-goal. Even, fortunately, he scored quite early, so he got the confidence hit quite quick in that game. But he just looks a better player. He looks a different player compared to last Thursday, where he was almost trying too hard, taking shots from distance that were tame, and you could see him shrug his shoulders a little bit and almost be a little bit timid. But today, there was none of that today. Though I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I thought he was by far the best player, constantly causing them issues. He was far more. The funny thing is, because when Paqueta went off, we were nowhere near as threatening in the second half as we were in the first half. So Paqueta, it feels like Paqueta is the reason for that. But Benrhama was far more impactful than Paqueta in that first 45. But perhaps Benrhama needed Paqueta to do it in the first half. But yeah, he did it in the second half a little bit. But I feel like the whole team's performance dipped a little bit because we were 2-0 up. We didn't have to play 100%. We didn't have to pressure outside their box anymore. We could proceed to the halfway line and say, we'll defend from here backwards, thank you. We do not need to take any risks and stuff. But yeah, really, really good performance from him. And actually, one thing I will say, I'm pleased that when I saw Rice come on, and Rice and Scamacca was coming on, I thought, crikey, I'm surprised he's doing this, right? But they're coming on. There was a part of me that thought, oh no, because I thought Lanzini or Downs was going to make way, and I thought they were both playing quite well. And I thought these two need the minutes here. Yeah. Rice don't need the half an hour. Them two need the 90 minutes. And in a weird way, I was pleased to see him come on for Creswell. Not necessarily play centre back, but just because it meant that Downs and Lanzini stayed on. And actually taking Creswell off to give him a bit of a rest before Sunday. It turns out to be quite a clever thing to do, really. So, any final words from yourself, Gonzo?
Yeah, I was pleased with that as well. The Creswell getting a rest, and Bowen as well. I thought Bowen, I think he got at least half an hour rest, which is really good. Yeah, 61 minutes. So that's important because, as we've mentioned, he seems to be in good form as well. I thought it was an exercise in getting as many people games as he possibly could, and I understand there were some youngsters on the bench and some frustration that he didn't do that there, but he got the players minutes who he needs to get minutes.
There's two injuries.
Exactly. Emerson needed to play as well. He really did. Benrhama absolutely needed to play. Whatever it's not uproar, because it's not uproar, whatever the frustration is that the youngsters didn't play, the frustration would be even greater if Benrhama hadn't played. Something has to give. For those youngsters to play, something has to give. And some of those guys need to be rested. And it didn't really matter. The game wasn't secure enough, as you saw, because it finished 2-1, for him to bring Forson on out of position, which was what would have had to have happened, by the way. Things like that. So actually, I think he got it. It's really hard to find any cause for. Well, I can't find any cause for complaint. We've qualified with 4 games gone in a group, and he's done so whilst resting ahead. He's basically, mate, he's prioritised the game against Southampton, and we've still qualified with room to spare. Really pleased with that. Almost did a free kick at the end, almost with Benrhama as well, which was really good fun, wasn't it? I would also like to say, I thought Fornals was pretty good when he came on, actually. I thought he really linked the play well. I understand he perhaps wasn't up to Paqueta's standard, but I thought he linked the play really well.
He did the best pass of the game for Scamacca, that cross, but really he followed it up. Emerson passed to him and he miscontrolled it. They won it back. We won it back, and I think it was Rice, someone, I can't remember the second one, passed to him and he miscontrolled that one as well. And you're like, come on, Pablo. But that cross for Scamacca was beautiful because Scamacca squared it to him, didn't he? Scamacca played that long ball out and then started darting in behind him.
He did it. He told him what to do almost, didn't he? Yeah.
Scamacca pung it out to him, started running in between sort of centre back and full back, as if say, I'm making my run, find me.
Yeah.
And it was a really good cross. Just an inch away from being perfect for Scamacca to.
And Lanzini did all right as well, by the way. Not a 10 out of 10 or anything like that.
Nobody played poorly tonight. Nobody played poorly. Anyway, my final words in a second, but before I do, Chris is struggling with Patreon. Chris, email us, hammerschat@gmail.com. Email us. We'll be live on Patreon tomorrow morning with our player ratings. If you fancy a little bit more of that, then check out patreon.com/Hammers Chat. From £3.60 per month, that includes VAT. That's the all-in price, less than £1 a week. You get additional content. Tomorrow morning, early enough, myself and Gonzo will be live. It takes about 45 minutes, an hour. It's a long video. Go through each player individually, having a little discussion, give the mark out of 10 for a talking point more than anything. Black and white. And I just want to say, Gonzo's Christmas jumper there. You want one? HammersChatStore.com. Pre-sales for the next 2 weeks, and then we're stopping pre-sales. And whatever's ordered gets ordered, and we send them out. And we'll have very, very few on general sale thereafter. And you save a £5 if you pre-order it. I'm very impressed by us tonight, Gonzo, and it's very sort of rewarding, actually. We deserve this. Moyes sort of deserved this a little bit. He had a tough couple of weeks. He's come back 4 wins out of 4 now in the league and in all competitions since international break. We've got 2 games to go. We need 1 point against Silkeborg. It'll take a miracle almost for us to not win this group. He can now really relax. The next European game is at home as well. Perfect opportunity to almost just say to Rice, you're not even on the bench. Skamaka, you're not even on the bench. I don't need you on the bench for this one. I'm going to play a couple of the kids from the start. I'm going to have more kids on the bench and make it an event almost. And yes, we still need that point, but you've got to back yourself. It's a fantastic position to be in. Tonight, second half was boring, right? It was absolutely boring. It wasn't fun to watch. Create a couple of half chances, conceded in the last minute, but we were in that position to be boring after what was an excellent first half. It was a very professional job. We did everything perfect. You know, there's not one thing I would change about that first half. And I will finally round this video off by saying I thought Vladimir Sufal had his best game this season. I am a big critic of him. I'm the first one to criticise him, but I thought he was quite good tonight, actually. Granted, the opposition wasn't much to talk about, but I thought he got forward well. His crossing could be improved a little bit, but I thought it was quite a decent enough performance from him. Enough to get into the Southampton team? Well, we'll discuss that in tomorrow's video. Tomorrow night, we'll have the Southampton preview. You can find out then. But if you enjoyed this review, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Myself and Gonzo. Catch you in a bit.